Hear ye, and welcome everyone to another Just Bleed Radio preview show. Our last one of these on UFC 302 was most popular, so we gather again to give our fair listeners our takes upon the upcoming UFC Fight Night taking place in the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where Robert the Reaper Whittaker was due to face Khamzat Chimaev. Unfortunately, Chimaev has been taken to hospital with some unknown illness, and he has been forced to withdraw from the fight. His place has been taken by one of his former victims, Ikram Aliskerov. But I am rushing ahead here because we are going to go over all of the main card from bottom to top. I am your host, Dangermouse, the Count of Casuals, and today my courtly counsellors creating chaos are Californian Cockgrapes Killer, the Crusher of Critters, the Purveyor of Poisons. He has no venom, but if you're a regular listener, you'll know that he can certainly bring the vexation and vitriol. He calls himself no special, but he's special to us, and not in a needs way. It's our courtly assassin, Austin. How's this fair day find thee, good
Very good. It's a great day over here. It is Father's Day as well, so
It is indeed.
yes, and just want to say Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And again, yes, great introduction as always. And do good.
Our final fella, a man of infinite jest, our courtly comedian, JBR's jester. He's obviously Ohioan. He's the best of the Buckeyes. He calls himself lazy, but he's far from lackadaisical. He's our minister of mirth. It's the one and only Lazybed. How doth this day find you, good sir?
Fuck yeah, dude. That was a hell of an intro. Love it. I'm doing pretty good. Could always be worse. Can't be mad. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Good to be here.
As always, our courtly chronicler, Super Dave, stands silent and ready to record our observations with his constant canine companion, Shattery. Very well, our final notes of this old English amusement and alliteration. It's onwards and downwards to a fight that may or may not be on the main card. If it is not, then it shall headline the preceding prelims. Our courtly conspirators were most desirous to discuss this battle, where Cyclopean contender Sharabutin Magomedov faces veteran fighter Joelton Lutterbach, who will take arms against the sea of troubles that the bullet brings. But shall his opposition end them? So this fight is difficult to judge just from the UFC stats alone, because Lutterbach's page is completely empty. He does have a couple of first round wins, but these happened back in 2021 and 2 of them in 2022. He does, however, have 14 KO/TKO wins and 13 submissions amongst his total wins, and most of his losses have been by way of decision. The Bullet, however, has a very impressive stats from his sole UFC fight against Bruno Silva, with 7.53 strikes landed per minute compared to absorbing 4.33 strikes per minute. It gives him a very nice striking differential of over 3 strikes per minute, and he's damn accurate too at 73%. Of course, we are going on just the one fight here. As I recall, he's that rarest of Dagestani fighters. He's the one that doesn't wrestle too well, although he has had almost a year for him to have improved that side of his game. As for Joelton, all I can say about him is an experienced veteran with almost 50 fights, and if he's had any time to study tape, he may opt for a wrestling-heavy approach. It seems the most likely path to victory. He's a short-notice opponent, and I can't help but think he's being brought in as a sacrificial lamb, although he could very easily prove to be a sheep in wolf's clothing. However, there would be no rhyme or reason for me to pick Lutterbach, so my obvious pick will go on Magomedov. And if I'm wrong, no regrets, because I have no information to work from. And with that, I shall pass this to my counsel for further discussion. Let us first hear from Lazybed. What have you to say?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, Dangermouse, fucking fantastic wordplay there. This is turning out to be one of my favorite shows yet. Yeah, fuck. First thing, look at like you were saying, look at the fucking record on Luderbach. Like, to talk about a combat sports vet, dude. Like, this guy is 31 years old with 49 pro bouts on his record across multiple disciplines. So that's a pretty sizable fucking record and sample size there for a guy only 31. Brazilian by birth, but training out of Dusseldorf, Germany. So His last MMA contest was back in April of 2023. But like I was saying, the dude's got professional fights across tons of fucking disciplines. Everything from Muay Thai, kickboxing, cage boxing, whatever the fuck that is, even straight up karate. So, in fact, his most recent bout was actually in karate combat back in March. So he's on a pretty good timetable, staying active. Uh, yeah, it's hard to really get a feel for his abilities or his experience level with all this variety on his record. He does actually have losses to Dricus Duplessis, Clay Collard, and Rushman Fio, which that's pretty interesting. If you're an MMA head, you ought to know those names. Uh, Share Bullet, of course, just burst onto the UFC scene last year. Undefeated at 12-0, yes, but also a peculiar record to say the least. He's got some modified rules fights on his record, no name value whatsoever in organizations that nobody's ever fucking heard of. So a fraud check could be imminent, although I'm kind of iffy on that. But judging by the experience level of Luderbach, it's very possible this could be a tougher short notice replacement than anyone was anticipating. I can't remember who Share Bullet was supposed to fight initially, but it wasn't Luderbach. I do think this one's likely to be fireworks, though. So, despite the similar ages, 30 and 31, the gap when it comes to a wealth of experience is pretty vast. Typically, this would play pretty heavily into my selection, but with the nature of Jolton's record, I'm discounting it a little bit. And with Shera having finished 10 of his 12 victories by KO TKO, seems like a likely path to a win there, despite Luderbach only having been finished by strikes twice in his long ass career. So I'm going to go ahead and still lean Share Bullet here by a finish. And if I got to call it, I'm going to say second round KO. And that is my officially legally binding pick.
I was waiting for that.
Legally
How about
binding.
you, Austin?
I, I'm more on Lazy's mindset when I see this fight. Like, Share Bullet. I'm gonna just share off. Like, basically, is that guy who's just like a stand-up fighter at all times. Kind of like how Derek Lewis just is like, jiu-jitsu does not exist for me. I'm just gonna stand up even if I get taken down. And if I get taken down, I'm not either gonna allow myself to be in a position where I'm not at least winning or minimize my ability to get dominated. And I mean, it worked out well for him against Bruno Santos. I don't know how I could take that fight as well.
Bruno Silva, you mean?
Oh, Bruno, yeah, Silva.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll save you from Daz.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I mean, I've been dead wronged on here many a time. So, but no, like watching that fight, I think that's a good takeaway for this one. Is just because like Silva just couldn't do a whole lot to him on the ground, even when he was taking him and getting dominant positions. Obviously, Bullet, it was not that kind of guy to defend takedowns very well, but he basically made the most out of being on his back and, made it a living nightmare to be on top of him, which, I mean, hey, can't blame him for that. I have no idea how this guy is going to look. And, like, Luderbach looks like that guy who's just been the journeyman, as good as his record would tell you. He's basically, I've been around the block outside of most major organizations, and he's being brought in as not as a name. He's being brought in as a guy who's available, and I'm imagining he's probably jumped multiple weight classes as what his record would tell me, especially that Rushman Fio and Clay Collard situation. So, if you know, those are lightweights. And the fact that this is at middleweight kind of gives you a hint that he's a guy who basically puts on and takes off weight. So it kind of throws me off a little bit on my pick, but I'm gonna agree with Lazy, and this is probably gonna be a second round TKO for the Bullet.
Yeah, I did manage to catch a few of his fights this afternoon. But I'd already written my script by that point, so I wasn't changing it. He clearly looks pretty dangerous. Obviously knows his way around the inside of a cage. But yeah, I think just because of where he's fighting, the fact that he probably hasn't had much chance to train specifically for for the bullet. Yeah, I think Dave. It's a nice, easy one for Dave. This one, it's all three of us by the looks of it going for the bullet. Which
That's not exciting.
As I like to call him, Old Evil Eye.
Yeah, so on to the next fight, which we do know for definite is on the main card. The bout at light heavyweight between Johnny Walker against Volkan Ozdemir. And again, this one, I know Johnny Walker can be crazy at times, and he does occasionally just walk into shots and get knocked down. But I think he's probably going to get this one done. I don't think Ozdemir is getting on a bit. I think he's about 37. I could be wrong there, but I know he's older than Johnny Walker. I'm hoping Dave's not going to prove me wrong here. So yeah, I don't have a ton to say on it, but I think it's more likely that Walker gets something done here. He has that habit of getting knockouts. He's fast. He's dangerous. He's very unpredictable. Oh yeah, I'm just checking now. Ozdemir is 35 or coming in close, 34 going on 35.
Yep, Walker's 32.
Yeah, which is technically speaking in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to quick look at the stats. Yeah, there's not a great deal in between them. Neither of them's particularly striking heavy or has amazing defense or anything. Walker's very good at his takedowns. He does have 100% takedown accuracy, but I can't remember who he's taken down in the past. Maybe Austin will remember. So yeah, I don't have a ton to say on this one. I just think it's more likely to be a Johnny Walker win. And I will pass it over to someone who might have more to say on it than I do. Take it away, Lazy. We'll stick in the same order for this show.
1 second, let me finish this Bing rip. All right, this one, what do you say about this one? You got Johnny Walker Blue versus No Time. 4 or 5 years ago, this might have been a title eliminator. Now I feel like it's primarily just like light heavyweight filler. Not gonna lie, I had completely forgotten Walker and Ankalaev rematched back in January. I had somehow totally removed the memory of that KO from my mind. In all likelihood, though, this one isn't going the distance. Someone's going to sleep in Saudi. I feel like it's a pretty surefire bet. So if you're some kind of like gambling man or whatever, fight does not go the distance. Probably a good play for you. As far as actual prediction here, like you got to take a look at the paths to victory in this one. It seems to me like if you're on the Johnny Walker side, you've got one path to a W, and that's obviously a knockout. Something wild, something crazy, that's likely his ticket to win. If you're on the Ozdemir side, you might have a few more paths available to you. So he's coming off just his second career win via submission this past September when he rear naked choked the show favorite Bogdan Guskov. So maybe finding a bit more tools in the belt at 34 years of age. I think that the logical choice here, if you could say anything is logical at light heavyweight, is a very comical knockout win for Volkan over Johnny. So that's exactly what I'm going to go with. We got no time for nonsense, so let's get that gyrating, creepy worm out of here. Volkan Ozdemir by round 1 KO.
Ooh. Oh, shit. Legally binding, Lazy.
Legally binding.
You know what? Thinking about it, dude, I was literally thinking, I'm like, didn't Ozdemir just come off of a win against someone just not too like it wasn't a recent, it was like a year ago, and Bogdan has like had two wins since then, so that's interesting to think about. And it was interesting because Ozdemir was never that guy you thought it was like a wrestler. So when he managed to get that submission, you're like, oh shit, looks like Bogdan's kind of not that guy.
Granted, it was a short notice fill-in for Bogdan. That was his debut in the UFC.
That's right. Good. Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering what the circumstances were. Because, yeah, that makes more sense. Yes. Goddamn light heavyweight division. You also said the same thing where it's like, this is just light heavyweight filler. God damn it. And they're not old. Like 32 and 34. This is like prime age for light heavyweights because, God forbid, the heavier you are in this situation, like, lighter guys tend to not last long. I mean, look at Silva de Andrade. He's like 39, almost 40, and he looked good, but he struggled against a younger dude, right? I mean, in this case, these are the big boys, and they tend to have longer primes. Just because if you're an elite guy, you're an elite guy. You can last a long time in this division. Hell, look at Randy Couture. Look at Glover Teixeira. You know what I mean? Hell, even Alexander. No, I'm sorry. Jan Blachowicz too. He's an older guy, and he fucking took the belt. You know, but neither here nor there. Here's the thing. Ozdemir should win this fight. Keyword should. I'm not so confident. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the wild card that is Johnny Walker, because I have a feeling that Ozdemir, if the caveat is if Ozdemir plays with it, he'll get caught. Ozdemir's not that guy to kind of adjust his game plan very well. He'll come with a singular game plan, and hopefully it works. And No Time might be sleeping in No Time, unfortunately. I'll go with like a 3rd round TKO.
Oh man.
Legally binding.
We're playing through this. All right, let's move up to the one that Lazy thought we were on. Mohamed Naimov versus Melsik Bagdasarian. I hope that's how you pronounce it. It looks to be spelled that way. We have the Hillman, Naimov, as Lazy was about to say. And we have Melsik Bagdasarian, who is the gun. Which, for a moment, we did think that Sharaputin was not going to get his fight. So we thought we were going to have a gun but no bullet. But fortunately, that has worked itself out. This was... And I'm just going to dive for my notes here because I did make something on these. Yeah, I was very unsure on this one. I've kept bouncing backwards and forwards. Bagdasarian's 32, so he's absolutely in his prime. Naimov is much younger at 29, but he does have a couple of names on his record. He's got Jamie Malarkey and Nathaniel Wood, which probably aren't the best names from the UFC, but at least we know who they are. We have that and the fact that he trains at Elevation, the gym, which of course means at Elevation as well, and that makes him sound good. But his stats make very interesting reading. He's got a negative striking differential. He does average almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he only gets a takedown 33% of the time. And I'm really, really not sure what to make of him. Melvik, on the other hand, he's quite the striker. He lands over 5 strikes per minute, absorbs only 3, so again, a positive striking differential. He's very accurate at 61%, and his striking defense is solid as well at 58. So whichever one I did show this note from my script earlier on. Whichever one I choose here is not a legally binding pick. You can both bollocks. So maybe I should wait.
Yeah. Come on.
Maybe I should just hear what Austin says and then pick the opposite.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah,
At least I commit.
But he is the only one on this card. The rest of the card I'm absolutely locked in on. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it open for the moment and piss our editor off by not saying what I'm going for at the moment.
Why are you gay?
I'll pass it over to Lazy and let him say what he wants to say about this.
Let me get to the correct part of my notes here and make sure I'm in the right spot. Yes. As I was saying before, 2 really cool nicknames, the Hillman and the Gun. So pretty neat, although Melsik Bagdasarian, that kind of sounds like nickname infringement. Pretty sure there's another Gun. I'm not positive who it is right now, but I'm almost positive there's somebody else who calls himself the Gun. Anyway, neither here nor there. If I'm Austin, that's my take on this one. Dangermouse kind of touched on a few of these things, but I'll go over them again. Melsik comes into this contest off of a win and 2 canceled bouts. His last fight being a unanimous decision win over Tucker Lutz. Naimov is on a 6-fight win streak, including going 3-0 in the UFC over the likes of Shoeface 2.0, Jamie Malarkey, Nathaniel Wood, and Eric Silva. In 13 pro fights, he's never been finished and alternately has secured a finish in 8 of his 11 wins. On the other hand, Bagdasarian is 3-1 in the UFC, with his lone loss coming via RNC at the hands of Josh Kulabau. Similar records, similar age, similar skill sets, really. So this one's virtually a pick 'em odds-wise, and rightfully so. like I was just saying, you got two dudes on a very similar trajectory from relatively familiar backgrounds. I don't think you could be faulted really for leaning either way on this one. So I'm going to base my selection primarily just off the strength of schedule here and the results of their various wins and losses. I think this one's going to be a hard hitting and fast paced fight in the grappling and scrambling department, likely to be pretty high energy for as long as it lasts. I'm going to go ahead and side with the Tajikistan native fighting out of Elevation Fight Team, like our boy DM just mentioned. And I'm going to give my official pick as Muhammad Naimov via submission. And I'll even say second round because I am Bedstradamus.
Legally binding.
Legally binding.
Legally binding. Yeah. Was that you came to that conclusion just because of the Josh Kulabau fight, Lazy?
Well, it was just based off the strength of his wins, having wins over three decent names in the UFC already, and I do like the idea of him training at Elevation Fight Team with Whitman and the gang out there, and so I don't know, trying to find something to give me a little bit of edge because they're pretty close in most departments.
I was gonna say, yeah, that to me was the biggest thing, just because the is it Tajikistan or Tajikistan? That Tajikistan. Okay, yeah, he's the one. Him and his, I believe his brother or something like that. That the entire country was staying up late at night to watch them fight. I think when they first premiered, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but
Yeah, that rings a bell, actually. I remember some people in the gym jumping up and shouting.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the thing. It's like these dudes like have a whole country backing them that probably doesn't have a whole lot of people that come out of there that perform well in other sports internationally. But to me, Bagdasarian is that guy. If I'm not mistaken, hold on, I want to make sure that I don't. Yeah, Bagdasarian is that guy who essentially he has moments where he's very good, but he gets into his own way. That's literally what I saw in that Kulabau fight. Now he got back on the winning streak. I don't know if he can maintain that discipline against a guy who's going to basically kind of run roughshod in that grappling department, just because he'll try to do the same, where it's like, well, I'm going to be in his face. I'm going to get him out of his head. I don't know if he could do that with a guy like that, him. And Bagdasarian, I believe, still has holes in his game. Naimov, I don't believe he has that many holes in his game. But like Lazy was saying, I'm gonna just steal his thing. He's just because he's right on the money with this. He's gonna edge him out. I don't know if he's gonna submit him. I'm gonna take a unanimous decision going Naimov.
I think we may well be edging towards all three of us. He was kind of, as I said, I was nudging towards him.
Oh, I thought you were gonna pick opposite of me. Interesting.
Like I said, I could literally flip a coin for this one. I don't have a strong opinion on either, which is why I don't really want to lock in an opinion. I'd like to hear. Maybe I'll steal a take from the MMA guru. He's my usual go-to guy for picks if I haven't got a clue what I'm going to pick.
Just be legally binding. Be legally binding.
I want to take the fifth on this one.
No.
I thought the English were supposed to be like all about procedure and fucking paperwork and everything
Proper.
legally binding.
God, this abuse of the host is overwhelming. Off with their heads.
To be fair, this is a tough fight to pick.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah. I'm not committing to either one yet. I'll maybe think about it and get to it at the end of the show.
Legally binding at the end of the show.
If I give it at the end, yeah, it'll have to be legally binding.
There it is.
Jumps us up to the next fight on the card, a welterweight bout between Kevin Gastelum and D-Rod Daniel Rodriguez. This one's an interesting one. Again, D-Rod is definitely getting on towards the old side of welterweights. Gastelum is officially in his prime, but he seems to have been in the UFC forever. So I'm not really sure how that prime's going to work out for him. Maybe that prime was beaten out of him against Izzy. Who knows? That was certainly a tough fight on his record. Again, there's it's kind of a tough one to pick. We know if Gastelum turns up, he can be absolutely on fire and he can beat almost anyone. Look how close he ran easy, as I've just mentioned. D-Rod, the guy can hit. There's no arguments there. But I'm very, very worried about the fact that he's 37. He's also on a two losses streak. I'm definitely heading towards Gastelum. I think he's probably got more weapons in his scabbard, for want of a better word. I think he can probably survive whatever D-Rod throws at him, or I hope he can at any rate, and take the fight maybe a little bit deeper when age and conditioning should come into it a little bit more. So yeah, I will give a legally binding one on this one. It is going to have to be Kelvin Gastelum. It's a bit of a fan pick, I guess, not necessarily picked on purely on stats or anything else, or previous knowledge of his fights. I'm just feeling Gastelum on this one. And again, my summary on these is very brief until we get to the next couple of fights that are coming up. So I will again throw it open to Lazybed.
All right. This one, man, like this one's really got me on the fence. You look at their records in the UFC, and it would seem, if you're just looking at the UFC records, it would seem pretty clear who you should be picking here. Gastelum, 12-9-1 in the UFC. D-Rod, 7-3. So, I mean, the disparity in the records there is pretty striking. But if you know anything about those fights and who those losses are against and some of the wars that Gastelum's been in, it gives it a bit more context. And, man, who doesn't love both these guys, though? Like, KG, of course, been around forever now, over a decade in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken, has faced the proverbial who's who, like I was just saying, in the promotion, albeit not without some hiccups along the way. He's had losses in key fights. He's had tons of weight misses, as we know. Other shit. Always a contender, though, but it seems like he can't get out of his own ways sometimes. D-Rod, a bit of a similar tale. Less time in the UFC as a whole, but has taken on some really tough guys himself and has also had his fair share of fight cancellations. I like this matchup a lot as far as competition goes, but it's a really tough call. I think in this one, in most fights, but especially in this one, you got to be looking for any edge or telltale signs that you can find to come up with a prediction. You can't really base much off of activity because both these guys have had numerous issues with fights getting pulled and things going awry during camps. So Gastelum likely has faced the stiffer competition of the two, but most of that was years ago. And I'm not sure that he's the same guy now that he was then. Rodriguez looks fantastic at times, but in other moments, he leaves a bad taste in my mouth because it seems like he just kind of lacks heart. If there's one thing that Kelvin has never lacked, it's just that. It's the heart. So, given the slight age discrepancy, 32 to 37, and the dog in his chest, I'm going to roll with Kelvin Gastelum in this one. I don't think he gets a finish necessarily, but I do think he could pull out a pretty unanimous decision victory here. So I'm going to go with KG for the win on this one, and that is my official pick.
All right, Austin.
Legally binding. Here's the thing. D-Rod came into the sport too old. He's still good, and like Lazy was saying, you would never question Kelvin Gastelum's heart. No one here would ever question if Kelvin Gastelum still is that guy that would show up and fight. He'll have questionable performances, but he's never that guy that you would say is going to quit. He's going to try, regardless if he's giving the best effort against a certain opponent. And we've seen some stinker fights from him. In my opinion, I feel like this fight is Kelvin's fight to lose. D-Rod is that guy who should have been in the UFC 5 years before when he got in. Now, that's not always his fault. That sometimes fighters get to where they get to by circumstance. It's not always, things are outside of their control. And even when he was in the UFC, he got decent competition leveling up, like a prospect should, but he's not a prospect at this point. He was a contender looking to make way in this very crowded division. It's unfortunate too because he was on a win streak at one point, and then he also had an injury as well. I mean, some of the last couple fights on his record are questionable at best. I mean, the Kevin Lee win for sure is one that I'm not sure should have even taken place, but regardless, there's something that was off with D-Rod in his last couple of fights, and I've kind of noticed it. I don't know if that's just age catching up to him or if that's just because he's just starting to lose that edge against some of the other competition that's here now. I'm going to side with Kelvin Gastelum, not because I think he's going to beat the shit out of him. I just believe Kevin Gastelum, he's trying. In his last fight, he looked good in the first round. He just got beat by a guy who was a much better grappler and could not get out from bottom. That was the undoing. And D-Rod is not a wrestler. He has submissions, but he is not a elite level grappler. He's also not an elite level striker. He's rounded enough to win when he needs to, where he needs to. Kelvin Gastelum is decent enough to work a way around decent opponents. I don't believe D-Rod is that guy anymore. So I'm going to side with Kelvin Gastelum, and I'm going to say it's going to be a split decision.
We are again in agreement on this one.
Yeah, not much dissension in the ranks today.
No, indeed not. I don't think there will be in the next one either, to be honest. The
Okay.
heavyweight co-main, Sergey Pavlovich takes on teammate Alexander Volkov. We all know Pavlovich. His last fight was against my hero, our finest fighter from England, Tom Aspinall, the man that John Jones is running from. Absolutely, yeah. Let's not forget that Pavlovich was on I believe it was 6-fight streak of first round KOs.
Yep.
The guy has got death in his hands, and I'm pretty sure I heard Alexander Volkov. He didn't know that this fight had even been booked. He was told it had been booked, and he was like, "What the hell?" And from if I remember rightly, he said that when he sparred against Sergey, he loses virtually all the time. Pavlovich is a nightmare to spar against. So that's not leaving a huge amount of leeway to actually go for Volkov. He's clearly dangerous. He's on a 3-fight win streak at the moment compared to the one loss that Pavlovich is on. But I just don't really see a way that Volkov can win this one, to be honest. I don't think his grappling's so good that Pavlovich will struggle greatly with him. Though we haven't seen very much of Pavlovich's grappling, if I'm correct. We've mainly seen him just laying hands on people and then they go to sleep. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen to Alexander Volkov here. I'll be surprised. I guess this one could get out of the first round. I'm not actually sure I'm presuming it's a 3-round fight, not a 5-round co-main. I haven't checked. But I couldn't see it going 5 rounds anyway. I can't really see anyone going 5 rounds with Pavlovich, to be honest. I think you either knock him out or he knocks you out in the first couple of rounds. Yeah, I just genuinely cannot really see a way for Volkov to win. As good as he is, he's a very experienced fighter. He can grapple, he can exchange hands, he can kick a little bit. But I just cannot see a way he can get past Pavlovich, especially when he's admitting that he struggles with him already. So this one is 100% legally binding. I will be going for Sergey Pavlovich on this one. And I'm not going to waste any more time. We might as well wrap this short fairly soon. I'll just throw it open over again to Lazy. I don't think you're going to argue with me too much on this one.
No, probably not. Good. Well, before I start, just to point out their records in the UFC: Pavlovich 6-2 in the promotion, Volkov 11-4, which those are both pretty nice records. Like you were saying, DM, Volkov, nothing else. The guy's a veteran. He's been around a long time. He's a danger, no matter who you are as an opponent. 11-4. That's a beautiful record in the UFC. You don't see a guy with
especially at heavyweight where anyone can win a match.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess what I really got to ask here is, guys, is it possible for me to defer my pick and take the Jan poll on this one? Is that an option? Okay.
What?
Well, if I
Take the
can't
what?
turn to
Did you
if I wanted to defer my pick to Jan poll on this one if I could. But if I can't turn to Jan, I must pull out the big gun for Mother Russia. Oh God, an exceedingly rare affair here. Russian versus Russian in the heavyweight division of the UFC. Don't see that often.
True.
And sensing a real theme on this card, and no, I don't mean the nationalities. I mean the fucking amount of finishers. I feel like I've said about damn near every fight we've talked about on this show that this one likely won't go to the scorecards. I do not foresee this one being two fat guys at the apex.
not?
But yeah, it should be a firefight with heavy weapons, to say the least. Really don't need a lot of breakdown on this one. You got two absolutely huge dudes. Size and strength, obviously not a problem for either one. But the one-touch power definitely resides with Pavlovich. Volkov has the ability to get a finish in probably a wider variety of ways, but including knockout. But even at heavyweight, he tends to win more by volume than velocity. Both these fellas actually suffered their last losses to, like Dangermouse was saying, his favorite, Tommy Aspinall.
That's true.
Yeah, granted that L was Sergey's most recent fight, and Volkov is coming off 3 straight wins, like you pointed out, but a common opponent with similar fates for both. I just think that the power and pressure from Pav is going to be too much for Volkov, and I think he's going to find that chin pretty early. Official lazy pick. Sergey Pavlovich defeats Alexander Volkov via devastating KO in the second half of the very first round.
Yeah, I would not be surprised for a first round finish with this one at all. Austin, you going to fight with us over this one?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be different because of
Ooh.
reasons. I foresee a teammate matchup where one, like we had talked about, or has been discussed, Sergey Pavlovich is that guy that's I wouldn't call him a gym bully. That's not what I mean. He's just that guy you don't really take lightly because he's gonna beat the fuck out of you if you're sparring. And I'm imagining he brings that same intensity to the fight. Now, if you've ever been in a room with somebody that beats you, mercilessly in the room, sometimes knowing how they fight, knowing their triggers, knowing their feints, knowing exactly how they go about business inside of the practice room, sometimes it gives you an edge in the actual, match when you face off against each other. I'm not going to say for certain that that's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you I will lean towards Alexander Volkov because he's been in that room with that man for a while now. He probably knows more things than he would probably lead on to that would give him an edge.
Yeah.
We saw this happen before with Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. Everybody said, oh, Gilbert gets the best of them both in the stand-up and the grappling. What happened in the fight? Gilbert caught him, but never had much success after that. He caught him with the overhand left, I believe, and then just got jabbed up to death after that. And it wasn't so much that, Usman was afraid of him. It was just more like, okay, I got to let him get his momentum out of the way, and then I can just take over the fight because I know he's going to try to blast me in the first. He survived and then took him out in the second, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, I might have been the third, but we've seen this happen before. And I'm going to side with the man who is more well-rounded, the man who also has submissions, and the man who's been a former champion, albeit for another organization. I'll go with the veteran Alexander Volkov, and I'll say it's going to be a submission in the second.
Ooh.
That's a turn up for the books.
Legally binding.
This next one should be fun. This is, of course, we're now on to the main event, the middleweight bout between Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov, which was, as I mentioned in the intro, it was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev facing Robert, which was a very interesting fight, which I had much more of an idea where it was going to go. This one has become much more complicated by adding Ikram Aliskerov into the mix. Chimaev, at least we knew he is the most lethal first round fighter in the UFC, most likely. He's absolutely deadly. But the problem is, we know he suffers from his constitution, his staying power. As the fights develop, he struggled against Usman. Some people would argue that he lost to Usman, or at least he lost 2 rounds to Usman, which would have made it a draw. No one's arguing over the first round, though. That was a definite 10-8, as we've said before in our Khamzat video. So Ikram, though, I think may have more staying power than Khamzat does, which, as I said, makes this much more complicated. He's also got power in his hands. He's got 4 decisions on his record. He's got 5 submissions and 6 KOs. I was wanting to watch some more of his footage this afternoon, but I ended up watching Lutterbach instead. If it had been Chimaev, I would have 100% gone for Robert Whittaker. But I'm risking the possibility of Austin never talking to me again here if I pick Ikram Aliskerov.
You're treading a line, sir, by even mentioning this. You're treading a line.
Exactly. I'm tempted to leave this one open to make my final decision at the end. Again, I really don't know. I want to pick Robert Whittaker. I like Robert Whittaker. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of my favorite UFC fighters. He's not old by any means. He's clearly dangerous, but he is, dare I say, a touch chinny. I know he ate that spin kick from Costa at the end of their fight.
Careful,
Mouse.
Mouse.
Round.
Careful.
But he was definitely on wobbly legs. If that round had been, if he'd landed that kick 30 seconds earlier, Costa may well have beat Whittaker on that one. And Ikram, I believe, has actually knocked somebody out with a jab. He's got definite power in his hands. We know he can wrestle because Khamzat couldn't take him down in their fight. He ended up being caught with I think it was a left hook, or it might have been a right hook, that sent his mouth guard spinning and him crumbling to the floor. I'm vacillating a bit here because I really don't want to make a pick on this one almost. I want Robert to win, but Ikram makes an interesting choice. He could actually be jumping the queue here. If he does beat Whittaker, we might actually see him get a title shot against.
Oh, no. Get the fuck out of here. No.
If he beats Rob is what, number 3 in the middleweight rankings?
No, Mouse. No.
Go on, let's hear from Austin then before I make my pick.
Lazy, do you mind?
I'll change the order up a little bit. The joy of being in charge here.
Okay. All right. Look, Ikram is a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. I believe he has power in his hands. He's actually well-rounded. He is a formidable opponent. He has no experience against the top 10 other than Khamzat while he was not in the top 10, nor I believe should be in the top 10 because he has not proven that he is that guy. He's only done it against one guy, and that is a welterweight in this division. Yes, he's fooled around with being a top 10 fighter for the last year and a half, 2 years or so. He went from being I'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime, brother. To I am indisposed almost near indefinitely. But Whittaker was supposed to be fighting the version of Khamzat that was that man that was known as a killer, but I do not see that anymore. Nor do I see that being a case with Ikram. Because Ikram's taking this on short notice. Yes, it's a fight that
he was supposed to have been on this weekend's card.
It's still a short notice fight because you're changing the projection of what the fight you were taking and making it a much tougher, much harder opponent. That's what I mean. Not so much preparation of like a camp, but the actual preparation for the fight. Game plans and stuff. Whittaker, however, is a great grappler, and yes, he kind of allowed DDP to maneuver against him and basically kind of counter his athleticism. Ikram, I don't think, is going to do that. Ikram's, I think, is going to try to knock him out in the first round, and that's going to be to his detriment. He's going to probably catch him because, yes, Whittaker has been caught before, but he's a guy who has great conditioning, has great mobility, and he's got general awareness. He's not that guy to just kind of stay there to get knocked out. It happens, and I mean, we've seen it with the best of these guys in the division. Hell, like if we're talking about guys who are considered chinny, I mean, Ikram got caught by a massive uppercut against a guy who's not that great of a striker, but he is a guy that is a devastating striker in his own right. So it's interesting to see that the guy with the better striking in this fight is Robert Whittaker, and the guy who's the better athlete is Robert Whittaker. The guy who has an actual decent level accomplishment of wrestling is Robert Whittaker. I think he's got the better, well-rounded nature in this fight. He's fought the better competition. Overall, it's Whittaker all day. Fuck you. Fuck everybody in the Discord who picks Ikram. If you do, I will fucking remember this day, and you will all fucking remember this moment when Robert Whittaker knocks him the fuck out. And I will say that right now. He's gonna do it. I don't know which round. I'm gonna be fucking confident, and he's gonna knock him the fuck out because that's what's gonna happen. I'm sorry. Fuck you guys, all of you.
Legally binding?
Legally fucking binding.
Yeah, there was no shock there. I could have not invited Austin, and I would have still picked him without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Come on, Lazy, if you got your package. Let's see what you got
Yeah.
on this one.
I got my package. Oh, shake it up, shake it up, shake it. Yahtzee. This isn't the fight we wanted, but it's the fight we got. And I can't really hate it. If you're going to replace Hamzat last minute, then you may as well replace him with a guy whose goal is to avenge his only career loss to him. Aliskerov is a tough fucking dude. Tough guy, man. A strong strength of schedule for minimal fights. Hell of a finisher, very tough. Whittaker is an absolute man for taking this late replacement to keep the card together. Because if he didn't agree to this fight, what the fuck were they going to do for this main event? Like,
Yeah, the card would have been messed up.
yeah, big props to fucking Rob for holding this thing together. Obviously, Rob, is one of the most beloved fighters in the game. Our boy Austin, this might be his favorite dude. He got himself back on track with that win against Costa in February, despite what anyone wants to say about it. This one is definitely high stakes for both guys. You got the classic veteran superstar here taking on the hot young gun with rankings on the line. I was going to say that, we got to be careful as we tiptoe through the tulips on this one because of our boy no special. But I think it might be more like we have to army crawl through a landmine field. To be honest, I feel like I would have had an easier time predicting this one, like you were saying, Mouse, if Chimaev was still in it. As wild as that sounds, Chimaev being the crazy fucking madman that he is. Ikram is still a bit of a question mark in a lot of areas, at least more than Hamzat was in a UFC setting. So not many aspects left to question in terms of Whittaker, though, outside of maybe his pull-out game, and I don't mean fight cancellations.
They've got a lot of kids.
Yes. Seriously, though, a huge moment for both guys in this one, and that's got to be my lean in this one. I'm not entirely confident Aliskerov has stepped into a moment like this before, and I'm not sure he's prepared for the pressure of a fight of this magnitude. Bobby Knuckles, on the other hand, is tried and tested, if nothing else. He's been in the fire, he's faced top-tier talent, and in spite of that fact, I think I'm not really sure if he's at that title level anymore. I think he's got enough to get this one done, though. So
I was gonna say, dude.
that was the cliffhanger I was waiting.
Stepping on dangerous ground there, Laser.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be easy for either guy. In fact, I think that this one could turn into a 5-round war, which that benefits us, the fans, because it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, well, just jumping in there, Aliskerov has never done 5 rounds. Obviously, Rob has done 5 rounds multiple times.
Mm-hmm. So those deep waters could be something, but ultimately, I think that the moment is just going to be a little bit too big for Aliskerov. So Yeah, give me Robert the Reaper Whittaker by a narrow split decision, complete with some fishy scorecards and possibly some home cooking for Aliskerov over there in the Middle East. But yeah, that's my
Oh, they
official
would
prediction.
never dare.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, well, the Saudis have certainly got a fighter they're going to be behind with Ikram Aliskerov if they couldn't have Hamza. Oh, God. I still hate making this pick. Ah,
Ooh,
I so want to go with Rob. And a lot of what you said makes sense there, Lazy. He does have the 5-round experience. We know he's got the gas tank to get to the end of those kind of fights. Ikram is the unknown kind of thing that's been thrown into this. Oh, I think I might piss off, just to piss Austin off as much as anything else. I think I might go for Ikram Aliskerov on this one.
You fucking dare, Mouse. Wow. You fucking traitor.
I told you he's my favorite fighter. I want him to win, but
Then pick him. Choose with your heart, not your brain.
we've got to go for that knockout champion, haven't we? Again, Survival League, and as you committed suicide this week, in a very brave move. It's a very brave move, but I know we're going to go back onto that card at some point later in the day, perhaps. So yeah. Oh God.
2 for 2. I'm fucking pissing me out.
one of us. One of us.
One of us. One of us. Global gobble.
Oh God. Oh, I'm glad I don't bet on mixed martial arts unless it's what's it, Islam Makhachev. I did throw a few bucks on him the other week to make pennies on the dollar. Oh God. Oh fuck it, I'll go for Ikram Aliskerov just to be contentious.
You son of a bitch. I'll remember this. I'll remember this.
I'm sure you will. Especially if Whittaker wins. I know you will.
I will never let you forget this day.
It's going to be doubly bad because I'm going to. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. I won't be hosting that show. That's Lazy's. So yeah, I can cringe into the background there and just hide my loss if it comes. So yeah, fuck it. I will go for Ikram Aliskerov, but I'm still not picking the other one that Baghdasarian fight. I'm edging towards the name of, but I'm not 100% set on him yet. I'm like I said, I'm wondering about that prime. Baghdasarian is banging his prime for the weight class. So I'm edging. Like I said, I'm edging. Oh no, I really don't want to make a pick on that one at the moment. I'm sorry, Dave.
I don't care.
You'll just have
Lazy, please back me up
a
here.
blank shadow or something in that one for me.
That's fair. So Lazy needs to back me up right now. I need this. Lazy, please.
I'm on your side, brother. I'm on your side.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Exactly.
Somebody understands loyalty.
I've made the
Solidarity.
controversy pick. You'll have to be happy with that one. And that just about wraps us up on this card. We've got through it reasonably quickly. So, very well. I thank you both for your wise counsel on these combats. I would urge all that have made it this far to prove their loyalty to this court and like and subscribe. If thou hath petitions, thou may leave them in the comments below, and we will respond where necessary. The sharp-minded amongst you may have picked up on my references to the Bard of Avon, England's finest scribe, Sir William Shakespeare. But can you find the 3 tracks I named by the Shakespeare of rap, Eminem? Anyway, council is now over. Farewell and adieu. Get thee from my halls, villains, and we shall congregate again next week to see how your council has fared against the results of this magnificent card. So, in the parlance of these modern times, peace, we out. Say goodbye, boys.
Later. You fucking traitor. God damn it.
Fuck you, Craig.
Fuck you, Craig.
Fuck you, Craig.
No, he's normal. I now had to go to his states and Japan. Who taught the great show with the jail? It's a good time. He's normal.
I'm so happy to be here.
Like I said, I'm edging. Oh,